Well, Richie here, and it's time for my top 5 RC cars under $100 of 2021 so far. I put quite a bit of work into this one. You're not just going to see these cars on the bench with me reviewing them. The main focus of this test is going to be both a speed test of one of these 5 cars and a handling test with me talking about the different characteristics of the car, what makes them good and what makes them bad. In terms of who's number 1, who's number 5, very difficult indeed because we've got a wide cross-section of cars on here. I did think, should I film them all and put them in speed order? As I said, going to do a GPS speed test on all of these. Then I thought, that's not really going to work either, as we've got things from a crawler through to a fast buggy at this end. So you're going to see them in the exact order I've got laid out on here, which is by scale. First of all, at this end, we have the Hobby Plus CR24, which is a 4-wheel drive, 1/24th scale crawler with full working light kit, despite its diminutive size as outstanding performance. Then we have the 1/18th scale HBX 2188A, 4-wheel drive drift car, very different characteristics to the CR24. And moving on in scale, we have the UDR 1601, which may also be familiar to you as a 1602, 1603 and 1604, but they're all basically the same car. Comes with a set of grip tyres as well as a set of drift tyres on here. None of these are brushless at this price point. All of these cars are brushed. Then we have the Bonsai B416 4-wheel drive buggy, which is 1/14 scale. And lastly, but by no means least, we have the WL Toys 144001, which is also 1/14 scale. So we got a wide cross-section of cars here for under $100. Everything from buggies through to a fast road car, which also will drift, through to a pure drifter and a crawler. Speaking of which, let's start with that one. Well, first up we have the Hobby Plus CR24 4-wheel drive 1/24th scale crawler. This thing will run for a staggering 40 minutes on one battery. Looks tiny, but the handling of this thing has to be seen to be believed. First of all, let's speed test it, and then let me go and show you the handling, which really you won't believe. Anyway, GPS on board. Let's see just how fast this thing is. I'm not expecting it to break any speed records. And I think that has definitely peaked out. Anyway, 5 minutes later when Richie gets it back home, I'm thinking that's probably 1 to 2 miles an hour on there, maybe 2 at a peak. One mile an hour on there. So the only way is up from here. It did do 2 in testing, I have to say. Okay, well, first of all, you've seen the CR24 is no speed demon, but it's got a great look to it. The suspension is pretty good on it, and those tyres are super grippy in pretty much all conditions on here. Now, might not get over this hose pipe, but let's see. Not bad. We'll get stuck on the back there. So you maybe need a bit, but it has got a reasonable amount of torque on that motor. So, if in doubt, give it a bit more throttle. It'll take a bump. Now I need to back off that. It's got quite a level of control. The turning circle could do with being a little bit better. But for going over an indoor crawler course, I think this thing would be absolutely fantastic fun. And crawling, at the end of the day, is not about going along at high speed. In practice though, I did actually hit 2 miles an hour with a speed test with this thing. But there is a lot to like about this for the money, particularly compared to a Mini Z 4x4, which is around about double the price of this. And what goes up must come down. That's made fairly good work of that, Richie boy. Bear in mind, this has just got a 600 milliamp battery. And as I say, you get a staggering 40 minutes run time out of that. There's a lot to be said for getting one of these and building yourself an indoor mini crawling course or an outdoor one in your garden. Look at that articulation. Gonna get over the wall. Oh, I thought there was no way it was going to do that. Anyway, there's a link to the CR24 below the video, which is available from Main Hobbies, but let's get straight on to the next speed and handling test. Anyway, I think it's time we tested our next little drifter, our kind of Ken Block Honeycomb Replica. Now, whilst you don't have the highest level of functionality on this radio, you've got slow speed or normal. We're going to keep this in normal because believe me, we don't want it in slow speed. You've got reversible steering trim, but that's it. Transmitter on, and it does have a really neat feature, which is these ultra cool drift lights, which looks absolutely fantastic at night. Got the GPS on board, as we're going to see. I can't believe I'm doing this. As we're going to see just how fast this one is. This may peak out within like 6 feet.
Just getting it, seeing how the steering trim is. And nail it, Rich, nail it, absolutely on it, boy, full throttle, and that is full throttle. That is not what this car is about, but I did say at the start I would speed test them all, but this is what it's about. Anyway, let's see how fast that was. Oh, I'm trying not to laugh. Right, read 12 miles an hour, which is about 2 miles an hour faster than I thought it was. And I thought some of the other cars in this test might be faster and seemingly more fun over, because they're like buggies over different terrain. This is just about the funnest one to drive because of one ultra cool feature on it, and that is the gyro and the handling that enable you to be like a parking lot drift god within just a matter of minutes. Just an, oh, he says, and then we hit something. That is because the gyro on board enables you to become a drift god in your own backyard. Big parking lots suddenly become your fun playgrounds, or like an 8-foot space would become a fun playground around here. I'm determined not to hit the other car there, but I'm having a good go at it. But this is what you're buying this for, is that handling. The gyro on it is absolutely sublime, and this is not the best of surfaces necessarily for running it on, because this is quite high friction. If you're running this on smooth concrete or like a wooden floor, then this thing's going to be handling even better, and it will handle like this for around about 20 minutes. It's almost tricky to keep in a straight line, but if you are going flat out and you lose it, it's easy to catch. It's almost like a high-speed drifting. I wonder what it would be like around a drift track with somebody that really knows what they're doing driving it, and the answer is probably not bad. But very, very easy to get it into some drifts. I knew I was determined to hit that car. I was going to see if I could get it a corner around it at some pace, and I'm not. I'm just going to end up smacking into it. But that is what this car is all about, and it looks very, very similar indeed. The Canblock HPI Honeycomb Replica for some unknown reason. Next up on the speed test, we've got the Panther, or you may call it the SG 1601, 1602, 1603, etc. But for our test purposes, the Panther. So let's see just how fast it is. You do need to pay attention that it's set on the max speed because it has 3 different speeds on here. But I think for our purposes, it's going to peak out on a short speed on there. Now you can see the gyro kicking in there because I've got the gyro turned right up. It doesn't need the gyro turned up that much. Come on, flat out, max it out, Richie boy. And it's a blistering, that's got to be at least 15 miles an hour, man. And that's definitely peaked out. And anybody thinks that's not in the high speed mode, it is in the high speed mode, because if we turn it down 1 or 2, drops down even more, and that's like in the real low speed mode there. But anyway, how fast was it at its peak, Richie? I'm thinking about 15, maybe 18 miles an hour, but I'm thinking about 15. Oh, 17 miles an hour, so somewhere in between. Okay, well the first thing to point out about the Panther is it's got a gyro on it, but it doesn't kick in until it's moving at speed. If you hold it in your hand and kick the car around, it looks like the gyro is not working. Also, if the car is crawling along and you think that's not as fast as yours looks on YouTube, Richie, no, it's got a 3-speed switch here. So that's on low speed, that's on medium speed, and wait for it, hold your breath or don't, this is on high speed. But it's got some punch to it. This is with the grippy tyres on, this is not with the drift tyres on here. And the handling is pretty good. Can't thinking what a mild brushless motor might do to one of these. I've seen some people throw big brushless stuff in here, and the handling on the thing absolutely terrified me when I tried doing that. But that's with gyro turned down on low, so we're going to turn that up a bit onto high now and see the interaction on it on high. Okay, and now hopefully as it builds up the speed, you should be able to see that counter steering, into it. But it fights it a bit on this surface. With the grippy tyres, it's wanting to fight quite hard. Yeah, there we go. Now it's getting a bit of action on there. But you can hear it, the tyres screeching round as the gyro fights itself on there. So the gyro is going to be a lot better with the slippy tyres on there. But this car does have some of the coolest headlights of any RC car going out there. And I think there's 3 different positions. You can have them white, red, right and red, and flashing, etc, etc. Reverse, not bad at all. As I say, it's a punchy little car. This is great for sort of like COVID times where you may be limited on space, although I've got a rather large area to play in today. And its tendency overall, that's fairly neutral on the handling, I would say. It's not wanting to oversteer, not with these grippier tyres on, and it's not wanting to understeer, and yet the gyro's fighting the understeer. on there. With the gyro on 100%, so with the gyro on 50%, that's better, that's more playful. Okay, next up, the Panther B416, track mode, start. And this got brisk acceleration. I'm thinking that's peaked out already. Does have a tendency to do lift off to oversteer, which I'll explain in a minute if nobody's aware of what that is. It's like that when you lift off, the car oversteers, hence the name lift off to oversteer. But that's definitely peaked out. There again, lift off to oversteer. Anyway, let's bring it home, Rich. Good brakes on this thing from what I remember though. Anyway, I'm thinking that's probably about 22 miles an hour, something like that. 19 miles an hour, so not too far off, but now we know just how fast the B416 is. Okay, in terms of handling, the B416 got good acceleration and it's a lot more playful on the throttle, and it does have that tendency. I'm going full throttle there, wanting maybe to understeer just a little bit, but it does exhibit a tendency to lift off to oversteer, which is like that when the back end comes round when you lift off and turn in, particularly if you apply the throttle just as you turn in. It's about 15 minutes on this, 12-15 minutes I would say out of this battery. Did seem to be longer the first few times I was out with it, but then you could change the battery for a better one, as that is going to be one of the things that affects it at this price point. Acceleration is brisk rather than ultra fast, I would say, on there, but as if putting something new to RC, you could have a lot of fun with this without getting in an awful lot of trouble. And there's a lot of plastic bends and bounces back. Metal tends to stay bent if you hit something hard. Oh, we could do a full-on wall test with all these cars, but that's not happening today. You can get that back end to hang out with the best of them. So a high level of playability in this one. And will it handle a little jump? Handle that without any problem at all. Oh, an little donut as well, did I mention that? The 144001. Put it in track mode, start. See just how we get on, but it's fairly lively to say the least. Just need to be a bit aware of all this road furniture behind me. That feels brisk today. Now this is one of the briskest cars out there, stock out the box. Just get a feel for it, check everything's working right. Now on that power, that's nice. That's peaked out, pretty certain. Right again next to me. The heat, it's upping that I like about 85-86 degrees here. Anyway, no excuses. See how fast that was. I'm thinking that was at 35, possibly 40, but I'm thinking maybe 35 to 40. So let's see. Okay, stop. Read 34 miles an hour. Anyway, very quick general handling test in terms of the area I've got to work in. Full throttle acceleration. I'm spinning the wheels. Now, I've got the greatest turning circle there, but it occurs to me, might be need the steering adjusting. But it's only got steering trim, not steering dual rate, so that's going to be a bit of an issue there, Rich. So, but it's still got enough power to spin those rear wheels out. So on gravel, or even loose, any kind of loose surface, you're going to be able to have fun with this thing. On full throttle on there, it wants to oversteer, if anything, which makes it quite beginner friendly for a fast car. Yet at the same time, you can flick that back end out if you stamp on the throttle at the right time. There, but this is the stock car, no setup, and it can change everything in terms of the steering because it's got fully adjustable suspension, so you can adjust the toe in, toe out, camber, etc. on there. So you're going to be able to adjust that steering very much toe out, stock out the box, which is also going to mean you're probably going to be able to squeeze a bit more out of it, speed-wise, if you wanted to. Brakes, could be better, could be better, could be better. But, whoa, can take a knock. Now we're going to be, now it's having some fun. Okay, and that acceleration from the side on. It runs pretty darn straight, accelerates in a pretty darn straight line. Bearing in mind this has got no TSM on it or anything like that. Only TSM being your throttle finger. Brakes, as I say, could do with being stronger. And if you drive this thing like a hone, you will notice that the tyres will begin to wear fairly fast because you can hone the thing round. But you can also hone it round like that for around about 20 minutes, which is one of the reasons why I love this car so much as there's so many other people, and with not a lot of work you can make one of these cars run over 100 miles an hour. A lot easier to make a 124019 run over 100 miles an hour, but that's a different story for another day. Now I mentioned the steering on there. As I said, it's quite toe out at the start of this. If you want to get cheap speed out of this thing, put some toe in on it, because you're probably going to gain another 3 miles an hour out of it. It really does make that much of a difference to the handling on this car, adjusting the suspension on there. But what's the understeer? Yeah, oversteer. It'll jump without any problem at all. I'd forgotten why I fell in love with this car in the first place, because it's got so much going for it for the money. It is untrue.
So I hope you enjoyed my top 5 RC cars under $100 for 2021. As I said, I've had a lot in over the past few months to test. These are the 5 that I've kept because I feel they represent some of the best value for money. They're the most durable ones for under $100. Which one would you go for? Have your say in the comment section right now. Which one do I like the most? Well, it's actually this diminutive little Hobby Plus CR24 on the end here. Link to all of these cars below the video. Hope you enjoyed watching this as much as I enjoyed making it. Well, thumbs up if you like this video, guys. Post any comments you might have in the comment section below the video and hit the circle below to subscribe. And if you do hit the circle, don't forget to hit the bell.